Let's be honest here. These people couldn't coordinate a gangbang at a hooker's funeral. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here, the one and only truth pimp dealing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. Let's be honest, guys. What we're seeing here in Minneapolis is not some random grassroots effort to protest because a group of people with like-minded similarities doesn't approve of a certain thing. This is coordinated. First, friends, I know you guys value freedom just like I do. That's why I'm attending the AOR Association Conference happening February 20th and 21st at the Mesa Convention Center in Arizona. You'll meet the legal team from AOR, you'll hear real-life self-defense stories, and you'll learn from some of the top firearms and de-escalation instructors in the country. I'll be there sharing my thoughts and opinions on AOR's Voices of 2A panel, as well as spending time with members over the lunch hour and throughout the event. You'll want to visit your member portal to register or email events@attorneysonretainer.us for more information, and we hope to see you guys there. This is going to be a fun time, a fun event. If you're not a member of Attorneys on Retainer already, what are you waiting on? I mean, these guys provide the best protection in the event you have to defend yourself in any kind of way in the public. I'm a paying member of AOR, and you should be too. Go to their website, attorneysonretainer.us. Again, attorneysonretainer.us. Hey, use my discount code FTATF if you sign up for a membership and receive instant, immediate savings. What we're watching here is a multi-layered, highly structured protest machine built to track, pressure, and overwhelm federal agents. And once you understand the different layers, the watchers, the spotters, the signals, the rapid responders, the agitators, the noisemakers, you're going to realize something. This level of coordination doesn't happen by accident. It only happens when there's money, leadership, planning, and strategy behind it. So some backstory. A lot of people think that protests just happen spontaneously because over the years, they kind of did. Until we started seeing the whole George Floyd stuff and things like that. The George Zimmerman, the hands up, don't shoot. They kind of started to figure things out. I'm talking about the rabble-rousers and the people who want to disrupt things. They started to grab their little handbooks, rules for radicals, and realize that, hey, this stuff in here kind of works, especially for the smooth brain. It's easy to lead a smooth-brained person around by their nose ring. I know that hurts some feelings, but it's easy to do that whenever they're not very smart. When you convince them that they can't think for themselves and they shouldn't think for themselves because we got it all figured out for you, then you've got half the battle won already. These wackos think that when some video surfaces of something they don't like, some folks get mad and a crowd just materializes. And that ain't what happens. That's certainly not what's happening here in Minneapolis. What we're looking at in Minneapolis contains roles, logistics, communication architecture, rapid deployment, command and control coordination. This is the exact behavior you see in organized protest cells, not in grassroots spontaneous outrage. So I'm going to break this down in layers because it's a multi-layered approach to protest, and it starts at a very high level. Let's start with layer number one, the watchers. These are the people quietly posted near ICE staging areas, federal buildings, parking lots, highway ramps. They sit in their cars, they sit in parks, coffee shops, or they sit on their little bicycles watching for ICE vehicles to move. They're not random civilians just chilling out in minus 12-degree weather. They're doing a job that they were told to do. Layer number two, the spotters. This isn't the same as the watchers. Once ICE vehicles roll, these individuals begin following them. They drive behind them, they shadow them on side streets, they send real-time updates, they confirm direction, vehicle type, destination, license plate numbers, all that kind of stuff. This is a surveillance task. Surveillance is always structured, it's never organic. Now let's talk about the third layer, the signal groups. This is where the command structure lies. Private encrypted channels, often with layered permissions, where spotters send intel, admins verify it, leaders decide whether to activate. Only then does the all call go out to everybody in the signal chat. And we've seen evidence of this in Minneapolis over the last few weeks. This hierarchy is the backbone of every single organized protest network. If this were just some random neighbors, they'd be texting in group chats, not on Signal, and they'd be passing around the occasional recipe. They're not doing this. These are managed communication cells. Layer number 4, the rapid responders. These are the people who mobilize instantly. Not tomorrow, not if they got time, instantly. When they receive the activating ping or whatever the signal is on signal, they grab their whistles, they show up on the scene, they surround vehicles, they start filming, they start yelling, they start creating a sensory wall. We've seen the playbooks whenever the Renee Good chick got snuffed out. We saw a lot of the stuff leaking online as far as their guidebook, what to do to instigate, to rabble-rouse, to create problems in these areas around the ICE people. So again, this is all part of a coordinated effort. You do not get this kind of synchronized behavior without some type of direction. Let's face it, most of these losers don't have jobs and have very little real-world experience except what the slave masters tell them to think and do. Even our latest nurse who bit the dust was supposed to be some kind of medical angel, but even he was too stupid to think on his own, and he relied on the Signal app, which he was a part of, to tell him what to do, when to do, and how to do it. Layer number 5, the dedicated agitators. They are not there by coincidence. They show up to escalate noise, crowd the agents, distract agents, disrupt operations, film reactions, create content for social media, push agents into mistakes, and push agents into reacting. It's all part of the plan. Now, these idiots at the ground level may not realize that they are part of the plan, that this is all meant to get the agents to react to them, sometimes negatively and obviously with force. They may not realize it, but the ones at the top who are really calling the shots, they know these idiots are fodder. They're there for that very reason. They don't care if any of these people get taken out like what we've seen. This is an assigned role. This is not a natural role for these idiots. Layer number 6, the logistical layer. Let's talk about those whistles for a second. Someone's got to print them. Someone has to buy them, store them, distribute them, explain how and when to use them. And not just one or two, hundreds we're talking about. More on the use of these whistles here in a second. This supply chain operation, especially regarding these whistles, it doesn't run itself. Somebody has to coordinate this from the moment these whistles are printed and manufactured. Layer number 7, and this is the most pivotal, the overhead organizational layer. Every one of these previously mentioned street-level roles depends on funding, legal backing, coordination hubs, high-level organizers, people who never show up on the scene. This is the layer the media never talks about, doesn't want to talk about, the people directing everything from a distance and no skin in the game. Let me explain to you why these whistles, these real shrill whistles, are not an accident. This is not a grassroots tool. Thinking back, again, I mentioned earlier the levels of escalation. Each new riot, they learn a new way to riot. And I call them riots. I mean, we say protesters, but they're riots. They're designed to be riots. They need, according to the top layers, they want to end up in a riot. During all the George Floyd, you didn't have the whistles. They've learned, from a psychological standpoint, how to use other things that might get a quick negative reaction from some of these ICE agents and law enforcement in general. These whistles aren't a coincidence. They're not some new trend, a cute symbol or a community signal. Whistles are a tactical tool, a psychological weapon. Let me clue you in on a little thing called the acoustic startle response. And that's what you're seeing here. That's what the whistles are for. The acoustic startle response is one of the most primitive reflexes in the human nervous system. It's involuntary, it's lightning fast, impossible for you to suppress it. It's triggered by sudden, high-frequency noises, like a whistle. This response kicks in before your conscious brain even knows what's happening. So let me explain the timeline and how the mind processes some of these things, and I'm going to keep it at a high level so I don't bore you guys. From 0 to 10 milliseconds, not seconds, milliseconds, a loud, sharp noise bypasses the thinking brain and hits the brain stem. 10 to 40 milliseconds, the body fires the protection reflex. Shoulders contract, head jerks, eyes blink, grip tightens, muscles seize. 40 to 150 milliseconds, stress hormones surge, fine motor skills drop, decision-making becomes reactive, secondary. If you want an agent overloaded, startled, distracted, or any police officer, this is the way you do it. You use a whistle, especially a shrill, high-pitched sudden blast. It's perfectly tuned to trigger that exact reflex in the brainstem. This ain't a guess by me. This is neuroscience. Look it up. It is a thing. And now it's being deployed to be used against good people or normal people out there by, again, much higher people. Look, I got to repeat this. The little smooth-brainers on the ground agents, they don't know this. They don't know anything about this neuroscience right here. Anything I'm saying right here is news to them because they're slaves. But the ones at the top have figured it out, and they push it down to the dummies on the ground, hoping one of them will get shot. Now, why is this an advanced tactic from the top? Well, look, there's only 3 ways whistles become a central protest tool. Someone understands psychophysiology. Someone knows the acoustic startle literature. Someone understands stress responses under threat. Someone understands that sudden noises disrupt fine motor control and motor skills. Someone is training people to use them correctly because the timing matters. Random noise does nothing. Synchronized sudden blast at this high shrill level, it creates an overload of the senses. And someone intentionally wants agents off balance. You don't hand out whistles by the box unless you want confusion, distraction, escalation, reaction, and mistakes, and possibly dead bodies like we've seen in this case. This is not something random that citizens figured out along the way. This is a strategic design and was meant to work this way. Look, these people who have been shot, those aren't accidents that something didn't go according to plan. That was part of the plan. Now, why and how does this prove multi-layered organization? When you combine an operational surveillance network, encrypted comms, logistical distribution, synchronized deployment, agitators trained to crowd and overwhelm, and the targeted use of startle-inducing noise, you don't have a spontaneous crowd. You got a coordinated, multi-layered activist infrastructure that takes leadership, planning, resources, experience, organization. It is structural and it is intentional, and it goes way beyond grassroots protesting. But here's where the funding comes in. Reports indicate that far-left activist networks, including groups like Indivisible Twin Cities, which is a local branch of the National Indivisible Project in that Minneapolis area, they're allegedly providing financial support for the anti-ICE demonstrations. The Indivisible Project has a history of organizing resistance to Republican policies, and its Minnesota affiliate is accused of funneling resources for protest logistics such as transportation and materials such as the whistles. Let's talk about another one. Unidos Minnesota, a nonprofit which has trained over 26,000 volunteers as legal observers, quote unquote, since the surge began. Remember, that's what this Renee Good chick was before she got snuffed out. This indicates structured support systems. While this could be organic community defense, critics tie it to broader national networks because it's kind of coincidental that they wound up and trained 26,000 people on how to protest, quote unquote. Now we get to the big fish that we always know he's involved. I don't care how many layers down you have to follow or dig or search to find this guy. George Soros always pops up. And here he is again. The Faith in Minnesota, affiliated with Isaiah, a progressive faith-based group, is accused of running street operations with only about 1.2% of its donors reportedly from Minnesota. So that's money from outside the state. This group allegedly brought in out-of-state activists for training and mass protests. Soros has historically funded progressive causes through entities like the Open Society Foundations, and one report links a Soros-backed group to receiving $7.8 million tied to Minnesota protest activities that we're seeing right now. $7.8 million from Soros to fund this operation. You don't think these people are making out like bandits over there? Now, they are paying these street level people. We've seen proof of that as well. But $7.8 million, mostly, remember, 98.8% of that money comes from outside Minnesota. It's not even people in the area. You call that grassroots? Now let's talk about CAIR Minnesota, the Council on American Islamic Relations. This organization settled a lawsuit in March 2025 to avoid revealing funding sources after being named an unindicted co-conspirator in a terrorism funding case. It's reportedly coordinating legal defense and community messaging for protesters in Minneapolis. This has raised questions about opaque funding streams supporting the resistance. Let's not forget that the Somalians who are embezzling billions of dollars in just one state in Minnesota and very much in the Minneapolis area, they're Muslims. I'm sorry, that's going to hurt some feelings. I'm probably going to get another hate speech warning from YouTube over that. But they are. CAIR is Muslim also, the organization I just spoke of. Anybody find it just remotely coincidental that once all this fraud and corruption started to get exposed, within a week, Renee Good got dusted? Anybody find that even remotely suspicious? You narrow it down to one state and one city in the state where everything's happening, and then something exactly like 7 blocks down the road pops off and this chick gets snuffed out. That doesn't seem like a little bit of a coincidence. And then you have this Muslim group like CAIR funneling money to create all the protests, which is a diversion. Again, remember, the Somalis are Muslim. You want to know another link that not a lot of people are making? Did you know that the Attorney General from Minneapolis is a Muslim? He was the first Muslim elected to Congress before he became AG in Minneapolis. You know what else he did? He lobbied for and was a part of CAIR, still is a part of CAIR. Again, which is an organization funneling money into Minneapolis to create distractions. Keith Ellison has indeed had long-standing associations with the Council on American Islamic Relations. And you can bet your butt he is balls deep in all of this. That's why they are so angry at Donald Trump and everybody else for doing these ICE operations in his area, because it's messing up their little distraction of having the protests and the riots. This runs deep. And again, Tim Walz, he's not relieved of any responsibility here. People can debate motives all day long, but what's happening in Minneapolis is not random. It is not organic. Look, when you see watchers, spotters, signal groups, rapid responders, coordinated agitators, mass whistle distribution, and tactical use of acoustic startle techniques, you are not looking at a protest. You are looking at an operation. And it's well funded from the top. Again, it's funny to me, if it wasn't the fact that people are losing their lives, that these agitators are stupid. They're brain dead. They're brainwashed. They don't realize they're being played. They are literal, minus the strings, puppets of the puppet masters supporting this whole thing and funding the whole thing. But they're too stupid to realize it. The American people deserve to know who is running this, and I hope somebody in Washington, D.C. has the nuts to look into this, because this is not being coordinated at the grassroots level in Minneapolis. It runs deep. And somebody else besides me needs to chase this crap down. Guys, if you like the video, please comment down below. Make sure you like the video if you like it. If you don't like it, I guess hit the thumbs down button. But give me your comments also. Let me know what you think. Am I wrong here? These are things that I just located in the last, let's say, 15 hours of research. So anybody can find this stuff. It's not hard to find. How come people in Washington, D.C. can't find this stuff? Don't forget, guys, if you're looking for a book to educate yourself and to educate the idiots out there who can't think for themselves regarding mass shootings, go to damnliars.net. Again, damnliars.net, and get my brand new book, Damn Liars.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
It's hanging around.